So we are hoping that microphone should bring a little bit better audio quality to the channel. So make sure that you like this video down below, subscribe, and share your thoughts as well down below. Help me reach my goal of 850 subscribers by the end of January. I am doing all sorts of draft content for you guys. We have a lot of exciting announcements coming out with a couple of things for the channel. So make sure that you are stay tuned, hit that notification bell so that way you never miss another video. But let's get started with today's video. Heading into the first round mock draft. So number one overall, there are no trades in this mock draft, just so you know. The Chicago Bears pick Will Anderson, the edge rusher / linebacker outside of Alabama. He is an extremely good rushing prospect, one of the best there is in all of college football. Has been extremely productive in the past 2 years, though it does concern me a little bit that he does play that more outside linebacker position in a 3-4 defense. And if you don't know what that means, 3-4 defense means 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. In a 4-3 defense, it is 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. The Bears have a run of 4-3. Will Anderson fits more of a 3-4. But I think he is the best rushing prospect, edge rushing prospect in the draft class. So that's why I have the Bears picking Will Anderson. The Houston Texans pick with the number 2 overall pick, C.J. Stroud, the quarterback outside of Ohio State. So C.J. Stroud, I think really just the best quarterback in this draft class. Simply, I think he has the best arm. I think he has the highest ceiling. And I think that he is able to develop as a quarterback better than any of the other draft picks. So that is why I have C.J. Stroud drafted number 2 overall as a QB prospect. At number 3, I have the Arizona Cardinals selecting Kelee Ringo, the cornerback out of Georgia. The reason why I have him selecting Kelee is because of his versatility at that cornerback position, something that the Arizona Cardinals are really looking for in that cornerback position. I think that could be really addressed there. A really good cornerback, can play it all, played on a national championship level team, really has the keys and attributes in order to compete with a squad right away, especially on the NFL level. With the Indianapolis Colts, I have them selecting Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama. When I did this, it was before the rumors that started circulating about Will Levis to the Colts, that they like Will Levis better than Bryce Young. So personally, I think Bryce Young is better than Will Levis. I think that Will Levis does kind of, I don't know, I'm not such a big fan. I think that he obviously helped Kentucky out a lot. But personally, I think that some of the issues with his inaccuracy at times, his lack of development, that is the opposite of Bryce Young. And I think Bryce Young fits the mold that the Colts are trying to use and developing a consistent and solid starter. So with the number 5 overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks have originally the Broncos pick, who they traded for in the Russell Wilson trade, and I have them selecting Myles Murphy, the edge rusher out of Clemson. I think that Murphy really fills a role that the Seahawks are looking for in edge rusher. I think that's something that the Seahawks lack in some ways. I think a premier edge rusher is what they're really looking for, and Myles Murphy is my second edge rusher off the board. He is my second pick to Will Anderson as an edge rusher, really talented, had a great season out of Clemson, a really good overall player. Now, the Detroit Lions, I have them selecting Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. Really, really athletic player for that spot. One of the most just pure athletic players out of the draft class. I think he is a better version of what the Jaguars try to draft in Trayvon Walker. I think the Lions get an absolute steal here at 6. And Jalen Carter really fits any role that you really need him to fit. So I think he fits that Lions system. I think he fits that Dan Campbell mentality. And I think that he fits that overall. So heading on to the next pick, I have the Las Vegas Raiders selecting Will Levis, the quarterback out of Kentucky. I think Will Levis is clear cut the third best quarterback in this class. I don't think he's above that. I don't think he's below that. I think there's a big drop off between him and Anthony Richardson, who's probably the number 4 quarterback in the class. So Levis, good overall quarterback, did make Kentucky a lot better as a program. You could see that in the bowl game where they just struggled to look like in offense. Like it was just, you could have put the defensive players out there and it would have been better. Like it was bad. The Raiders really need a quarterback, even though Derek Carr is a Pro Bowl quarterback somehow, just because of all the injuries to Tua and to Herbert and to Mahomes playing in the Super Bowl and to Allen and all of that. You end up having him as one of the Pro Bowl starting quarterbacks. So Levis, I do think he fits that role. I think that he can be a plug-and-play starter. I don't know about his ceiling. I think that he is going to have a lot of struggles going into the NFL, but he is a good player overall. The Atlanta Falcons, I have them selecting Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Tyree Wilson is one of the most athletic and one of the most just athletic freaks in this draft class. He is 6'7", 265 pounds, absolute monster out of Texas Tech. I think he really fits a hole that they're looking for in Atlanta to have another edge rusher, something that I think to pair with Arnold Ebiketie, the edge rusher that they selected last year out of Penn State. I think that is a big get for the Falcons in an edge rushing department that they really could use the help. The Carolina Panthers, I have them selecting Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida. Really, with Richardson, I think that he needs to be able to sit behind guys, and I think that this allows him. With Carolina's situation, specifically with the situation of all the other kind of older starting quarterbacks, with all of that, I think it gives Richardson maybe a little bit of chance to be able to become a starter, to develop in the NFL, and that's what I think helps him the best, is becoming that starter and slowing down. Plus, Carolina, they have a lot of pieces where they're at. You have a lot of good, solid offensive pieces, and I think that that will help Richardson overall. The Philadelphia Eagles, though they are playing for a Super Bowl right now, they still have a top 10 pick because, well, Howie Roseman's their GM. Also, the Saints gave it up. I have them selecting Noah Sewell, Sewell, the linebacker out of Oregon / edge rusher. He plays a lot of outside linebacker, but also comes off the edge as well. You can play him in either. I think that it gives an Eagles team that is probably going to lose a pass rusher or two this offseason due to having, well, so many good players. I think that a Noah Sewell pick really helps that linebacking core as well as your edge rushing ability. With the Tennessee Titans, I have them selecting Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. Really, in my book, he is the number 1 offensive tackle. I know a lot of people have some opinions favorably on Peter Skoronski. Personally, I think he fits more in at guard. His arms are incredibly short, and I think that could be an issue going into the NFL. But the Titans need a tackle, so I decided to select Nicholas Petit-Freet's former teammate, who is the other Tennessee Titans tackle, and Paris Johnson, and I think that that will be a good overall duo. Though, watch out for Paris Johnson's current teammate and future draft partner, and Dawson Jones, who has actually had himself a great Senior Bowl. So we'll see how that plays out, whether Paris Johnson becomes the better Ohio State draft pick tackle or whether it's Dawson Jones. With the Houston Texans' second first-round pick, I have them selecting Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver out of TCU. The reason why I have the Texans selecting him over the other wide receivers is I think Johnson is a big, explosive player, and I think he really fills the void that you're looking for at that explosive wide receiver to pair with Nico Collins, and I think that that is what the Houston Texans will be looking for in Quentin Johnson, a big explosive wide receiver. The New York Jets, I have them selecting Joey Porter Jr., the cornerback out of Penn State. Jets, I think they really need another cornerback to pair with Sauce Gardner. I know that Gardner, they picked a first-round pick corner last year, and, well, they did hit. There was no doubt about that. But I think that you could use another cornerback, and that's why I have them selecting Joey Porter Jr. Then the New England Patriots, I have them selecting a very needy position in Jordan Addison, the wide receiver out of Southern Cal. The reason why I think Addison fits so well with the Patriots system is because of his ability to play slot receiver, his ability to play really well. Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, both guys that really played in that slot, that were smaller guys that really got it done. And I think that that's what the New England Patriots need for Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi, whoever the quarterback in the future will be. Next, I have the Green Bay Packers selecting Michael Mayer, a tight end out of Notre Dame. Really what I think with this pick, a pick that I've been seeing more and more of, and if you check out my Green Bay Packers mock draft that I released just a couple of days ago, well, I had the Green Bay Packers also picking Michael Mayer, as well as my friend who was in that Stat Sheet Sport or American Football Network. So definitely an interesting play there from Michael Mayer. Washington Commanders are up next, and I have them selecting Cam Smith, the cornerback out of South Carolina. South Carolina has a very good history of cornerbacks. J.C. Horn most recently. Otherwise, you have Marcus Lattimore and stuff like that. Commanders need a cornerback, though I could see him drafting a quarterback in this draft class. I think that they would need to jump up inside the top 10 to do so. Maybe Richardson falls out of the top 10 and falls more, but I don't think he falls all the way to the Commanders pick. So I have him picking a cornerback rather than a quarterback. Talking about Peter Skoronski earlier, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers selecting him at offensive tackle. I think Steelers, they need both a guard and a tackle. So what I would do with Skoronski is play him at tackle, see if he's able to fill that void, of tackle. And if he is, then you play him at tackle. If he's not and he's struggling, then you go ahead and play him at guard, depending on what you think is most necessary for that position. So heading on to the next pick, I have the Detroit Lions with their second first-round pick selecting Jackson Smith and Jigba, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. Here's the thing with Smith and Jigba. I think possibly the best wide receiver to come out of this draft class, straight out, period, could be the best wide receiver, just straight best wide receiver. The reason why I don't have him going before is because of his injury concerns. He did not play basically the entire year. He played 2 games after the Notre Dame game and the first game of the season, which he got hurt. Then he got re-hurt and stuff like that. So he didn't really play most of the season, only played, but I think like 5-6 series all year. But his sophomore production, he was better than Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. And Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson were 2 top level wide receivers in last year's draft class. I think they both went top 20. So this is an extremely talented guy, a guy that had 300 plus wide receiver or receiving yards in the Rose Bowl just a year ago. With the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they need a cornerback. So I have them selecting Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon. Gonzalez transferred from from Colorado to Oregon in this past year, really cemented himself as a very good cornerback, has been rising up draft boards lately. We'll see whether he is the first cornerback taken. Should be a very interesting debate with the Combine coming up, with the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl and all that. We'll see what cornerbacks really shine. But Christian Gonzalez could be that one. So I have the Bucs picking a really athletic and talented cornerback out of there. Talking about a surefire prospect, I have the Seattle Seahawks drafting Brian Branch, the safety out of Bama. Branch is just one of the most complete players in this draft class. And with Seattle, if you did not see, or missed the part. I have them also drafting earlier, addressing the defense, getting the edge rush out of Clemson and Miles Murphy. Now I have them continue to address that defense to pair with Jamal Adams. Have them selecting Brian Branch. I think that both of them are incredibly talented players. I think that Branch and Murphy are both out of good programs, are pretty surefire prospects, and not a lot of bust potential. So heading on to the next pick, I have the Los Angeles Chargers picking Broderick Jones, the offensive tackle out of Georgia. A big get here for the Chargers, needing a tackle desperately. Really struggled later on in the year with needing a tackle. And I think Broderick Jones, one of the better tackles in this draft class, could be the first tackle taken off the board ahead of all the other guys that I previously picked. But personally, I think that those other guys fit better with the schemes there. With the Baltimore Ravens, I have them selecting a wide receiver, a much-needed wide receiver, I may add, and Kayshon Boutte, the wide receiver out of LSU. Really one of the most dynamic wide receivers in this draft class. Could have been the first wide receiver taken, but didn't have as good of a year as some expected him to. So Boutte, just big, tall, athletic, speed, really has it all overall. And I think that's what the Ravens need in that pick. So Vikings basically pick any sort of defensive player, and that's better than what they have currently. So I decided to draft a guy that can play a lot of different positions, can play nickel, can play linebacker, can play safety. A very similar version to what I cannot think of his name. Isaiah Simmons was coming out of the draft class a couple years ago, though I think he could possibly be better than Simmons, especially in the NFL. So that's why I have the Vikings drafting Trenton Simpson, the linebacker out of Clemson. Jacksonville Jaguars, well, they need to address cornerback. They really need to add more depth to the secondary there. So I have them drafting Eli Ricks, the cornerback out of Bama. With the next pick, I have the New York Giants selecting Isaiah Foskey, the edge rusher out of Notre Dame. I think that this is a position that they really need to get better at, the edge rushing position. They need more pass rush. They just simply need more pass rush. It's a good pass rushing unit, but they need more. Dallas Cowboys, I have them selecting Clark Phillips with much consideration from Dallas Cowboys fans. They needed a cornerback. I know if you want to go check how much I've been roasted by the Cowboys fans for drafting Michael Mayer with this pick. Clark Phillips, great player out of Utah, really fits the mold of what they're looking for. But really was just looking for any cornerbacks so that way Cowboys fans wouldn't be upset with me. Buffalo Bills, you need a running back. Bijan Robinson, one of the best running backs in recent draft classes, running back out of Texas. Just all around great player. Not the greatest pass catcher out of the backfield. If you're looking for that, not really. But the Bills, I think, are just looking for a running back in general, especially with Devin Singletary possibly going to free agency. Another Clemson defensive tackle going, or another Clemson defensive lineman going in the first round. I have them selecting Brian Bresee, the defensive tackle out of Clemson. A really good overall player. Has had a lot of issues with injuries, and that's why he isn't actually going early on in the draft. I have seen him some top 10. I think injuries take him down to more the later part of the first round, but great player. Had great production his freshman year and the beginning of his sophomore year before the injury. Cincinnati Bengals, you need some more edge rush. I think that you can get that in BJ or Oruwariye, the edge out of LSU, so that's who I have them drafting. Kansas City Chiefs, I have your Tyreek Hill replacement. Understand this. He's not Tyreek Hill and probably won't ever be, but Josh Downs fits that mold. Speedy, twitchy, flexible slot wide receiver. That's why I have the Chiefs selecting Josh Downs, wide receiver out of UNC. Finally, 31st pick, because the Dolphins forfeited their pick. Philadelphia Eagles picking Felix Uzama, the edge rusher out of Kansas State. Great player there. Has a lot of athletic talent. Defensive player of the year for the Big 12 Conference. Really just good overall player there. So that's going to wrap it up. Please hit that subscribe button. Only 7% of you are subscribed that watch this channel right now. So hit that subscribe button. Help me out. Otherwise, 2 videos down below. The subscribe button will be up here if that helped you anymore. As always, that's it for today, and have a great day. Bye, guys.